morning. Welcome to Friday.
Professional, you can do it.
I'm a professional. I'm not sure what I'm professional at. I don't know. Friday the 13th, actually, today. So welcome. Happy Friday the 13th. Welcome to Friday morning. Blah. Oh, it's going to be a long day. If you are watching, please do pop a hello in the comments. And we'll do what we normally do. Good morning, Heather. Good morning, Emma. Yeah, Pete's here. He's working hard or something, or taking the mickey out of me, actually. Eric's under a pile of blankets because it's cold.
Have you sent it to YouTube?
Yeah. You shouldn't be touching technical things, should you? Good morning. I don't know. Good morning, anybody, everybody. Good morning, Trudy. Good morning, Kerry. Oh, dear. Got the giggles this morning. Good morning, Christine. Good morning, Marianne. Welcome to Friday. Good morning, Janet. Good morning, Louise. 13, lucky for witches, apparently. I've never noticed any difference, to be honest, but if I do need a number, I often go for 13. It gets a bit shunned, really, doesn't it? It's got a bad reputation. It's got bad history, really, but there you go. Anyway, good evening, Sephora. I've been out in the garden today. We put out a thing on Facebook to see what people would like us, as in Kitchen Witch, to do for the year going forward. And one of the suggestions was to work with seasonal plants for magical purpose. So that's what I've been doing this morning. I went out in the garden to see what was out there that could be worked with. So I've got a pile of vegetation here and we'll see where it takes us. Good morning, Jane. Good morning, Paul. Good morning, Maria. Good morning, Andrea. Emma, you look a bit chilly. Yeah, it's cold and chilly, and I have been out in the garden this morning. Good morning, Kerry. Good morning, Karen. Good morning, Tony. Good morning, Maharet. Good morning, Kelly. Good morning, Eva. Just back from the dog walk. I'm going to listen while I weave my medicine bag. Excellent.
Have you got people on YouTube? Because I can't see it.
Yes, there are people on YouTube. It's just you that's not. Yeah. Don't touch anything electrical today. No. Good morning, Christine. Good morning, Sue. I say good morning to Sue and Heather and Ness, but I've already spoken to them by this time in the morning. We are in constant contact. But thank you for joining me. I've got a creaky table. This is how I feel this morning. Bit creaky. Yes, so I have good morning, Colin. Good morning, Diane. Having to join you on YouTube these days, as for some reason the Book of Faces is no longer showing your Friday chats in my feed. Well, that's just rude. You can always hop on over to my Facebook page, the author Facebook page, and it should show on there. But I think it seems YouTube's a little bit more stable. Who knows why? So I can see your messages anyway, so it's all good. Good morning, Kerry. So yes, I've been out in the garden this morning. I have a small garden, it's not enormous, and it's got a little bit of a microclimate, so it doesn't tend to get frost too often, although we have had one hit this year already because it has been super cold. It's looking a bit sad out there. January always does in the garden, although we've got some bulbs coming up and we have got some hellebores flowering.
Good.
I did not cut any of the hellebore flowers to bring in because that's just rude. And they look nice on the plant and they flower for so long, so I left them there. We've got a red one and a white one, but they are amazing plants. We grew our first one last year and it literally flowered from end of December right round to
Still going.
Well, yeah, right round till the end of autumn, really. Yeah, it was very impressive. So hellebores are flowering in the garden at the moment. Christine, blooming spaniels woke me at 4 a.m. howling. Oh no. So I'm now eating chocolate and don't care in zombie mode. Oh no, chocolate's good for you, Christine. Emma's over on YouTube. Welcome. We have cookies here. Excellent. We have cookies here too. We have shortbread actually. Did a bit of baking yesterday. Not a big surprise. I baked a hominy pie yesterday, and the amount of comments was amazing. Hominy pie is a really old recipe. It's a real homely, cheap, cheerful, when you haven't got much else in kind of day, kind of baking. Potatoes, onions, cheese, bit of garlic, mashed potatoes, sliced potatoes, crush the potatoes, put them in a pastry tart case, bake. It's delicious. It's cheap, cheerful, easy, but delicious. Very, very old recipe. So that's what we had yesterday. But I also made shortbread and a caraway cake. But yeah, there you go. Anyway, back to hellebores. Jane's hellebores have self-seeded from cracks in the paving. Fabulous. Do like plants when they self-seed. Free plants. Colin, Friday the 13th day, so be careful. No need to be careful, Colin. Friday the 13th is a witch's day. Good for witches. Not so good if you're a Knights Templar, because that's where all the bad luck 13 started, apparently. But yes, Friday the 13th, good day for witches. Yeah, Christine's hopping over to YouTube because Facebook keeps freezing. I'm plugged straight into the source, into the Ethernet, but for some reason, YouTube is much more stable than Facebook. I have no idea. Good morning, Little Miss Nemo. Hominy is one of the best words in the English language. Yes. Seedy cake. Yep, I made caraway cake. Delicious. So, yeah, there we go. So, I've been out in the garden and I have some plants. So, not a lot out there. There are a lot of seed heads. Heather says, caraway cake. Haven't had one of those for ages. Yes, got the ingredients. Yeah, delicious. Delicious. I made one from a National Trust recipe book. It's yummy. Pete said it was a delicious cake, but it'd be better without the caraway seeds. So anyway, plants in the garden in January. In my garden in England, because obviously it's going to vary where you are. Sephora, for instance, will have completely different plants in her garden being over in New Zealand. So there's lots of seed heads. We've got lots of Friday the 13th here. Let's get some up. Jane, if Friday the 13th is a good day for us, I'll definitely go to Romford and hunt down a little fireside chair for my witchy room. Got one, but need two. Look out, Jazz. Yes, I want a reading armchair for the kitchen. Yes, get me one while you're there, Jane. Will you? Louise, am I right in thinking Christians put about 13 was unlucky because there are 13 full moons in a... No, the actual... off the top of my head, the unlucky for 13 comes from the Knights Templar. There was a whole slaughter thing on Friday the 13th. So Google it and have a see. I think it is more witches like 13 because there are 13 moons, so link there as well. But the origins of Friday the 13th being unlucky is to do with the Knights Templar and a whole kind of massacre thing. So have a look and see. Maharet, will do my Friday the 13th wish spell later. That's always fun. Oh, Friday the 13th, brilliant day for working magic, for witches. Brilliant day for working magic. Welcome back, Chris. Maria, what about the apostles? Yes, there was 13 of them, wasn't there? Yeah, no, it's all to do with, I'm sure it's got that Knights Templar link. But Kelly, usually had a good day on Friday the 13th. Not superstitious, but my mum is and would go mad if we put new shoes on the table. That is an old folk tale. What is it? Old folk? Yes, you don't put new shoes on the table. That's bad luck. I have no idea why. Jane, my hubby was born on Friday the 13th. Great for him. Not so great for his mum. No. Depends how you look at it, I guess. Good morning, Lizzie. Christine, I succumbed to digging out my favourite plants from the front garden as the cats, bless them, were using it as a litter tray. Yes, we have one that keeps coming in the garden and driving Eric nuts. And it was using so many poo bags per day. We gave up and now have slate on the front, which looks neat and tidy. And so far, a few days, it's not got any poo in it. Probably not squishy enough for them, is it? Still have my beautiful back garden, which is now in full flower with winter jasmine. Yes, mine's got buds on. And yellow witch hazel and yellow, very fragrant winter sweet, all in full flower. And it's so lovely. Beautiful, beautiful. Lizzie's house number's 13. Excellent. Yeah, Janice, Friday the 13th, always been lucky. Good morning, Xenia. Maria thought it was about the Last Supper with Judas being the 13th who portrayed be Jesus. It has got that Knights Templar connection, I believe. So if someone wants to Google, that'd be cool. It's got a history to it.
To do with the Last Supper.
Yeah, there's lots of connections, isn't there? Can you Google Knights Templars and Friday the 13th for me, please? Thank you. It's got the pixie on it. Xenia has no garden, houseplants. Oh yeah, I'm not good with houseplants, Xenia. I'm not good with houseplants. Emma's got the opticians. Good luck for you. Yes, good day for getting your glasses, Emma. Hopefully they won't be too expensive. Glasses are ridiculously expensive. Eva, our neighbour's cat will maintain eye contact with me while it poops in the middle of her garden. They are evil, aren't they? Jane, I think it's unlucky to put shoes on the table that haven't been paid for. This is a very old superstition that dates back to the days of mail order catalogues. That makes sense. Spell. It's because I'm reading things at the same time.
It's not the origin of the superstition, no.
13 candle spell day to date. Maria, what, the Knights Templars?
Busting the myth of Friday.
Oh, okay, cool.
Knights Templar.
All right, cool. Can you put the link up for people?
Oh, okay.
What does it say it is?
It doesn't. It just says it's busting that.
Oh,
myth.
okay, interesting. Okay, so we're back to the 13 having supper with Jesus
Cross,
then.
Yeah.
There you go then. There you go. See, Sarah thought Friday the 13th of October was Knights Templar. Yeah, it was the year they were rounded up and tortured, weren't they, on Friday the 13th? So it did happen on Friday the 13th. That's what I'm thinking of. Anyway, which is like Friday the 13th, so it's all good.
The link is up.
Thank you. Right, anyway, back to here we go. Right, back to it. Hi, Judy. We're getting lots of Friday the 13th now. Here we are. Paul. Union of day and date has also been traced back to King Philip IV of France, arresting hundreds of Knights Templars on Friday 13th of October. Yeah, I think there's probably various connections to it.
It's hard to prove, isn't it?
Who knows? Who knows, yeah.
Would you like a bit of cake with your cup of coffee?
I'll have some cake afterwards.
There's some caraway cake. It's got bits in it.
It's very nice.
It's
caraway
got bits in it.
cake. Yes, it's got. That would be the caraway seeds making it the caraway cake. Go and eat your shortbread. Anyway, oh dear. Chaos. Right, see, mad. Okay, there's lots of seed heads in the garden at the moment. Focus. I've found some. So these ones, what I tend to do if I get quite structural seed heads in the garden towards the end of the summer, beginning of autumn, I just let them go to seed and I leave them. I don't cut them down because they make quite a nice structure in the garden in the winter. These ones are from Flowers, Rudbeckia. Oh, it's going to be a good day. I better not touch anything expensive today. I'll break it. These are from Rudbeckias. And these ones are from Echinacea. I really like the spiky Echinacea. Actually, I quite often pick the seed heads because for me, the Echinacea seed heads symbolize the crone. I have no idea why. They just do. To me, they seem like the crone. So I often pick them and put them on my altar for the Kelach. But seed heads are brilliant to use in magical spell working. The other seed head I found in the garden was some very delicate grass seed heads, which are still in place. They look, in the summer, they looked a little bit like hamsters on sticks. So that it's dropping its seeds everywhere. So grass seed heads, there's still a few. This one is fantastic. Look at this. Trying to get it so it's got a background so you can see it. This looks like a mad head banging dancing person. This is a clematis seed head. They are amazing seed heads, and I actually work with clematis quite a lot in spell working. You won't often find clematis in books with magical meanings. I don't think it has a traditional magical meaning. I like to use clematis for spells where I need to reach for something or growth. Clematis climbs when it grows and it hangs on to things. So I think clematis is very good for goals, spell working for goals, wishes, desires, reaching for stuff or growth of something. But the seed heads are magical. Look, it looks like you dancing.
So many comments.
Clematis seed heads are really good magical.
She drinks, just so you know.
I need to drink, don't I? Need to drink. Still got some snowballs left from Christmas. So clematis seed heads are really good for magical workings too. Oh, Emma would like an Americano.
Uh-huh.
Janice, love your scarf. Oh, thank you. It is horrendously old. Thank you. Jane, look out for the tape hidden in the heel. Okay. Wise words. Yeah, I think we're on Friday the 13th. Subject number 13 were two separate topics that have become linked to one. Yes, you're probably correct. You are probably correct. Lizzie, love caraway seeds. I do. My dad used to sprinkle them on cabbage. They are really nice with cabbage. That's finished. They're also really nice in coleslaw, as are fennel seeds. Christine, the echinacea seed pods look like me first thing in the morning, so I can totally understand the kelacking. Oh, we go back to the echinacea. Looks like a little hedgehog, doesn't it? Jody, love them. Clematis is beautiful. We have got several varieties of clematis in the garden. Collect the seeds of the ocean faring variety. Awesome. They are amazing, and they do dry really well. So I do collect them. So that's lots of seed heads out still left in the garden. Echinacea. Let's have a look in the old book. Echinacea is healing. I use it a lot in healing spells. But as I say, I use it a lot if I want to draw on the crone energy for anything. Wisdom, kicking my butt. Yeah, crone magic. Power. Echinacea is very good for power. We want to boost a power to any magical spell working as well. Healing. It's also very good for abundance. I think any of the seed heads that have got lots of seeds, like the grass one, and I'm going to stop waving this one around because it's dropping seeds everywhere, throwing my money around, are all about abundance. Echinacea ruled by Venus, Mars, and it's the earth and it's feminine. So echinacea is really good for that. One other question I was asked is what to do with these. I talk a lot about magical properties of plants and food. What do you actually do with them? Obviously the seed heads are dried, so they're good to go. Any of the other plants I've got here are still fresh. So I don't often use fresh plants in spell working. I will often put them on my altar in a vase. I've got some here at the moment in a vase, seasonal ones. I'll put them in water in a vase, so on the altar, they're fine, fresh. Sometimes if I'm making a mandala for something, I will use fresh leaves and flowers from the garden. Otherwise, I dry them. And then I put them in spell pouches, witch bottles. I put them in incense blends, sachet powders, or I store them. For me, drying them is more useful. If you put fresh leaves in a spell pouch, it's going to go moldy. So I dry them first, generally. Let's have a Jane explanation from Twin Peaks. Well, your source. Leo Johnson said, new shoes while in a zombie state. And it turned out there was an incriminating tape hidden in one of the heels. Oh, okay. Thank you for that. I was a little confused. I have calendula seed heads still in the garden. Gingerbread latte this morning.
You didn't see your face when you first tasted it.
Yeah. I've
Everyone
not
needs to
I've not
watch.
tried it before. Eva has calendula seed heads. It's still in the garden. The seeds look like weird little bugs to me, but they are one of my favourite flowers for magic and herbalism. Calendula are really useful. I don't have any seed heads in my garden. We did have them, but I haven't got any seed heads. Emma, my garden is safe as long as I'm not trying to grow anything in it. I'm a terrible witch for growing things, I must say, though. My apple and olive tree are growing strong without my help, of course. Right, you're meant to grow trees instead, Emma. Maria prefers tea. Pete's got tea. I did find a few lone rose hips still in the garden. We used to open them up when I was a kid and make itching powder from them. Obviously, I don't do that anymore. But the insides of it would be quite good if you want to upset someone. Just saying. Maria, gingerbread latte tub came from Lidl's, Maria. So I've got, that's rose. And a rose is so good for rose hips. Brilliant for anything. Again, I would dry them out just to make sure they're not damp, because we've had rain, like rain upon rain. I'm very surprised it wasn't actually raining this morning. So before you actually bring any herbs in to dry them, try and pick them on a dry day and make sure they're dry before you leave them out, because otherwise they will go mouldy. Oh, rose is love, psychic powers, healing, luck, protection, peace, mysteries, knowledge, dreams, friendship, death and rebirth, abundance.
Nothing to do with cake then?
You can put rose petals in cake, yeah, and
Good,
rose
that's
syrup. Yeah, it just, you've got to be careful, because otherwise it tastes a little bit like soap. And you don't want a cake tasting of soap, but there you go.
No.
Rose is really, really useful. Really useful. I use it all the time, actually. And in its form as rose hips, same magical properties as the rose petals, as the rose leaves. Whatever you want to use it for. Whatever you want to use it for. Right, Karen has lots of hydrangea seed heads. Aren't they beautiful? But I've never used them in magical workings. Any ideas? We have hydrangea too. Actually, I didn't pick one of those. Could pick one of those. I love hydrangea seed heads because they maintain their shape when they've gone over. You can use them as dried flowers in arrangements. As far as I'm aware, there aren't any general traditional magical purposes for hydrangea, but hydrangea is water, and hydrangeas love water. So I would use hydrangeas for anything to do with the element of water, particularly emotions, intuition, going with the flow, releasing, cleansing, anything that you would normally associate the element of water with, I would use hydrangea for. Unless anyone else has got any suggestions, ideas, but that's my thought on it. There are books, like mine.
Books out there.
I've got some books, yes, a few. And there are lists on the internet for these correspondences that go with any of these plants. Sometimes there will be a plant like hydrangea or clematis where there aren't general traditional meanings for them. Come up with your own. In fact, I encourage you to come up with your own anyway. Each different plant, each different variety of plant will have its own characteristics, its own unique magical energy. Take the plant and connect with it. Connect with the energy of it and ask it what it can do to help you with your magical workings. But you can also look at it. You can look at the colour that the flowers are, the colour that the leaves are, the shape of the leaves, the way that it grows, like clematis that grows climber. So to me, that is growing, that's moving upwards, that's reaching your goals. Hydrangea, because it's got a water connection. Have a look at how it grows, where it grows, what it looks like to make your magical connections. Helen is rubbish with garden plants, but my house plants grow like a dream. I am completely the opposite, Helen. houseplants scream when they come in to our house.
Screaming in the shop anymore, isn't it?
Trudy, honesty seeds look like little coins in paper purses, so I use for prosperity, and the name gives me the vibe to use for truth spells. Absolutely. They also associated with the moon because the seed heads look like the moon. I think honesty is in this book, actually. I'll get there. GH. Honesty. There we go. Yes. Money, truth. Makes sense, doesn't it? But also monsters. Bizarre. Apparently, if you carry honesty flowers or seeds with you, it will keep monsters at bay. What sort of monsters? I don't know. But yes, ruled by the moon, element of earth, and a feminine. So perfect, Trudy. Absolutely perfect. Jane says the best itching powder is made from a crumbled rusty Brillo pad. Oh, that's evil. Rosehip syrup. Oh yeah, that's good stuff. It is good stuff. Maria will plant some in May. Yes. Little Miss Nemo. Don't hydrangeas respond to the pH level in the soil? They do indeed, and so are blue in some gardens and pink in others, unless it's a specific variety. They come in white. They come in pink. You can buy them as blue, but you have to keep them in the right pH of soil to keep them blue. And some of them change colour completely within that spectrum of colours, depending on the soil. Yes, it's quite magical, really, which Heather has just picked up on. Hydrangea for me also has transformation, change, due to the flowers changing colour depending on the acidity of the soil. That makes absolutely perfect sense. Absolutely. Right, let's try gingerbread latte. Oh, that's quite nice. Oh, yeah, we like that. Yeah, that's yummy.
Well, that wasn't as funny as it could
No,
have
it
been.
wasn't funny, was it? No, it should have given me something horrible. So what else did I find in the garden? I found bay leaves. You can pick bay all year round. Bay is a really, really useful plant. If you get a big enough leaf, you can write your wishes on it, put it under your pillow to dream about whatever it is you need, or burn it to send your wishes into the element of fire to be transformed into reality. But you can pick it all year round. It's evergreen. So it's we've got two in pots, actually. One's doing terribly and one's doing brilliantly. I don't know why.
Bays.
Yeah, don't know why. You can also buy, these are from my garden, obviously, but I also bought a great big bag of Thai bay leaves from the Asian supermarket, and the leaves are enormous. So you could write your whole spell on there pretty much. But bay, very, very useful. I don't often use them fresh. I usually dry them. They burn easier if they're dry. I use them fresh more often for cooking rather than magic. And bay is going backwards through the alphabet now. Very, very good for cleansing, purifying. Good for wishes, as I say. Protection, purification, strength, power, healing, creativity, spirituality, and psychic powers. Ruled by the sun, Aries and Leo. It is a fire element and it's a masculine energy. So bay are really, really good. Eva, do you have your bay in a pot or in the ground? Most of our herbs I keep in pots. Our garden's quite small anyway, and because bay trees have a habit of, well, in the name bay tree, because they have a habit of growing quite large and our garden's quite small, I like to keep the bay in particular in pots. But most of the herbs I keep in pots in the garden because our soil in the garden is naturally clay, wet, heavy clay. And herbs generally are Mediterranean plants and they hate wet, heavy clay soil. They like free draining, sandy type soil. So I generally keep the herbs in pots because then we can use compost and mix it with a bit of shingle to keep them free draining. But yes, you can put bay in the ground. If it likes it, it will grow lots. and it will grow to be a tree. So although air bays in pots are probably 4 foot, so we should be fine, Eva, but they don't like lots of wet. They don't like having their feet wet and soggy, which I can understand. Christine, lost my bay last year with the heat. Yes, poor thing, looks so sad now, even though I watered it. Ours did struggle last year in the heat. It was so dry. Little Miss Nemo, bay isn't a hardy plant in the UK, needs to be protected from frost. To be fair, I've never had a problem with it. I haven't had a problem with it at all in the UK. Ours are out in the garden all year long. Never had any problems with them. And I've seen...
Sheltered, though.
Yeah, we have got quite a sheltered garden.
On the island, haven't we? So we don't get snow.
Yeah, we don't get... It's not too bad. But I have seen bay trees in gardens as well in the UK. So I guess it depends what area you're in and how frosty your frost gets. We are in the south of England, so we are a bit warmer. But a lot of the herbs are Mediterranean, so they don't generally go hand in hand with our UK weather. What I also had in the garden, which is doing very, very well, is holly. Evergreen again, obviously. My holly is in a pot. It was gifted to us. I found a little tiny seedling in the shingle in the pathway. I'm assuming a bird had dropped it. It's now a monster.
It's got its own postcode.
Yeah, it's got its own postcode now. Still in a pot, but it's enormous. It does have red berries on occasionally too. So yeah, holly, excellent. I mean, look at it. It's protection in a leaf, basically, isn't it? There is nothing that shouts defense more than a holly leaf, really, is there? It was quite horrible picking it because it bit me several times. But holly is protection. But holly's also luck, dreams, balance, and success. Ruled by Mars and Saturn, and it's a fire and masculine one. So holly's very useful too. It's a wing of bat. When you hear the witches of old in the poems and the stories talking about wing of bat, it's a holly leaf. It does look a little bit like a bat wing, doesn't it? But really useful in protection spells. Again, I would dry it. Using it fresh leads to, mold, basically. Christine, my friend, who lives in Berkshire, has got a 15-foot bay growing in her garden as beautiful as a tree. They do grow really, really large if they're in the right position, they will. Jane, holly, wing of bat. Yep, absolutely. Little Miss Nemo, probably smaller plants need mollycoddling. That's such a good phrase. Yes, I saw a huge bay in someone's garden here in Yorkshire and was jealous. Yeah, it can. Colin's got one in a pot. Yes, mine's in a pot too, Colin. Jane, my bay is struggling after such a hot summer too, but I must keep it going because it's given to me by a good friend who passed. Yeah, that little bit of TLC, hopefully it will be fine. Angela wants to put some holly, hawthorn on dog rose in my garden. Brilliant choices, brilliant choices. Lizzie, holly leaves get spiky to protect themselves. They do, don't they? You can often find a mixture of smooth and spiky leaves on the same plant. They do, don't they? Apparently, the holly can grow without spikes. It grows the spikes to protect itself. It's clever, very clever. Jodie, I have had a bay in a pot for 3 years, been attempting to grow more from cuttings. We will see. Both of mine came from cuttings, actually. So they seem quite happy. Got my bay in a pot by the front door. I think it is for any of these things. It's about getting the conditions that they like. Think about where the plants come from, i.e. Mediterranean for most of them. It kind of works. And then you have evergreens in the garden still, obviously. Firs, pines, all sorts of Christmas trees, basically. Not a huge favourite of mine in the garden, I must admit. But this one's quite a nice colour one. Evergreen. So it gives a lot of colour in the garden. Pines, I mean, it's a huge group. Pines, fir trees. if you had a Christmas tree, a real one, Yule tree, whatever you want to call it, and you saved some of the pine needles, they are brilliant to use in prosperity spells. I'd say dry them, but usually the pine needles fall off of the trees indoors anyway, so they're dried by that point. But pine, oh, brilliant. Centering, focus, dragon magic, protection, truth, abundance, purification, fertility, healing, and prosperity as well. So ruled by Mars, Saturn, Capricorn, air and fire element, and it's masculine. But pine is brilliant. Whatever variation it is, pine, spruce, fir, all very similar magical properties. But the needles from it, very, very useful. And the wood as well. Don't forget the twigs from it as well as the leaves. Paul has very large holly bush growing in a garden. It's about 30 years old. Fantastic. Emma, we've got a holly bush that Mum planted many, many years ago, flourishing and happy, and always produces berries. The berries can be saved for magic too. Bear in mind as well, anything with berries, just check, because, you know, toxic, pets, children, that kind of thing. Colin, used to have a bay tree in my garden before I had to move. It could have been that the earth was also mixed with coal dust. Maybe it liked it. Little Miss Nemo, just remembered Rosemary needs hand holding. I wonder if I was getting old lady confused. It happens to us all. Diane, I grew bay babies from root cuttings very successfully. Louise, my bay, 16 years old, sheltered garden in Yorkshire, gets hardly any sun and is healthy. Good outdoor gardener with an allotment, but kill house plants too. It must be a thing. Lizzie's cat brings home pine needles stuck in his fur. Bless. Christine has 2 rebees in my garden in spring. They're so lovely and make my garden smell of blackcurrants, and the bees just love them. Do you have anything about rebees flowering current? I have a white one and a purple one. I don't have anything about rebees, but I wonder whether it would be covered by black currants. I don't know if I did black currants, but I think it would be about I've got blackberries, not black currants. Oh, it's one of those ones that's not really generally worked with, is it? So I would have a look at the shape of the leaves, how it grows, colour and shape of the flowers, and I'm also thinking about black currants as well. They do grow like little bunches of grapes, don't they? And the colour as well, black, purple, what you associate the magic with that as well. That's going to have to be, I think, one that you connect with and see, unless anyone's got any suggestions. Louise, neighbours have 2 huge holly lollipops. We get loads of seedlings. And yeah, I think their next door neighbour has a holly tree. I think that's where Esme have come from, unless the birds dropped it. Hannah, how strange that talks winter garden magic. Literally just wrote a poem about moss being winter's wild magic. Excellent. Don't have any moss in my garden. Otherwise there would have been some moss. Angela, we had a beautiful blue spruce in our garden, but for some reason, after putting out lots of new soft tips, it suddenly died. That was before the big heat wave. They're very sensitive, aren't they? They like their conditions. Jane, black currants are so bossy. There you go, Christine. That's a magical property for your rebees. They'll make the surrounding plants smell of blackcurrant when you cut them. Even hot lips. Wow, that is to overpower a hot lips, which is a salvia, which has got quite a strong smell. Very impressive. There you go, Christine. Overpowering and bossy, your rebees. Definitely got a magical use for that. What else do I find in the garden? Another herb. I found some thyme, trying not to drop it into my latte. I found some thyme growing quite happily in the garden. Smells amazing. Thyme is such a useful little herb. It comes in all sorts of varieties as well. It makes really nice to plant in between the cracks in paving as well. And then when you sort of brush past it or step on it, It smells delightful. I put it in cooking quite a lot too. It is my go-to for healing, actually. If I'm working with a healing spell, then I will use thyme. That's one of my go-to. It is health. It is healing. It's a peaceful plant. Also psychic powers, boosts your psychic powers. Love, purification, courage, releasing, sleep and beauty. So it covers quite a nice lot of things. Ruled by Venus, element of water, and it's feminine. So it has got a really nice energy to it. This one's a variegated one. But I do use thyme a lot in cooking. You can put it in cookies as well. It makes very nice in cookies. Angela, watching on YouTube and commenting on Facebook. It works. Jane, lots of thyme in pasta sauce. Yeah, delicious. And in stuffing. What else did I find? Oh, this is a good one. Very rare, very exotic. Grass. It's got its roots because it was growing in the pathway, so I pulled it up. I'm that evil. But everyone must have a bit of grass. We don't have a lawn, but we do have bits of grass that self-seed. Grass. Don't forget about the weeds, because weeds are very, very useful. They've all got magical properties. Grass, just like all the other weeds, plants. A weed is just a plant in the wrong place. Isn't that the general meaning? Go and get my alphabet now. Grass. Graminoids is the Latin word, which is quite clever. Right, grass, really good for protection, psychic powers and abundance. But something that I use it quite a lot, particularly the really long ornamental grass leaves, are good for knot magic. So if you've got the really long strands of grass, you can make them into witches' ladders. You can weave them into a ball of grass if you've got huge amounts of patience, and it can be hung up in your home for protection. I tend to plait and use knot magic for the really long pieces of grass, but just your weed, just your normal weed is really good for magical use. And it, it's everywhere. Lizzie did a lot of pruning in the autumn. Blackcurrant, apple trees, blueberry plants all had a hard cutback, so we shall see. Quite a lot of plants do benefit from that, don't they? Lizzie, hoping this year I get some edible figs. Just have to feed and water lots as in a pot, as the blueberry in the bay. Yeah, figs, they like lots of water, don't they? Janet, my pokeweed, such a good name. Grow very large, well over 6 feet. My grass is always long. If it is, you can use the long blades of grass for knot magic. It's absolutely brilliant for it. Very useful for knot magic. Jodie, my thyme grows about 25 centimetres tall and wide in the garden. It's more like a small bush. My potted ones just gave up the ghost after the nasty hot spell, and lots of things suffered from it. This one is in a pot. But it grows quite low. It's quite low growing, that one. But there are lots of different varieties of thyme in all different things. Lemon thyme and all sorts of things. Very useful. Very, very useful. Emma, I have a ginseng bonsai tree indoors that I call Spirit. Still working out its magical properties and its personality. Does anyone have any bonsai trees? Do you magically work with them? Many years ago.
Is that bonsai? Is it secret agent tree?
Bonsai, secret agent tree. There you are, Emma. Thank you. Get back to work. Many years ago, I worked for a specialist glasshouse company, and at the time, I used to have a couple of bonsai trees. Yes, thank you. They are fascinating to work with. It would depend on the different type of tree. So your magical energy comes from the species of the tree. So ginseng is all about boosting your sexual energy, isn't it? Ginseng's all about giving you oomph. So I would assume that it would have that same sort of magical go back to work, assuming that it would have that kind of energy to it. But connect with it, Emma. Connect with your tree and ask it. See what energy it has. So I'd trip over the time if I planted it in the pathway crack. Has to be the low growing stuff. Trudy, you definitely have a microclimate. I do. My herbs are semi-hibernating. My teasels are just about holding on to the seed heads. Teasels are so architectural in the garden, aren't they? They are amazing. We've lost a few things. The salvias that we had have just gone completely, although salvia hot lips is still flowering in the garden.
World of its own,
it is, yeah. We've still got some pelargoniums still flowering. Roses that have got no leaves and rose hips and one single flower. It is a little bit of a bizarre climate in the garden. Maria says Bridget's Cross. Yes, grass to make a Bridget's Cross would be perfect. Christine, can't grow thyme. It always dies on me. Thank heavens for my organic farm. Yeah, there are some things that I can't seem to grow. Basil won't grow for me, but yeah, that's just one of those things, isn't it? Some things you grow, some things you can't. Bit like cooking, isn't it? Some things you can and can't. I'm no good at roast potatoes. I can do a huge cake. I can't do roast potatoes very well. Jane, all our grass grows in the paving. The lawn is clover, self-heal, dandelions, celandine, shepherd's purse, daisies, and anything but grass. It sounds perfect. Absolutely perfect. Jodie, I have bonsai'd a sacred fig tree, which I saved from a guy who called it a failure and was about to throw in the dump. It is beautiful, nicely rescued. Hannah, I have a wisteria which has yet to flower. They take about 4 or 5 years, don't they, to establish before they flower. My parents used to have a cottage covered in it. Fig. They thought it was fig. Maria, my hyacinth has grown its leaves, which is purple. I bought another one yesterday, which is white. Hyacinths are beautiful. Did I write about hyacinths? It was a long time ago. I don't have hyacinths because I'm a terrible witch and I have allergies of various things, and hyacinth, the scent is just too strong for me.
They are very strong.
They are very strong, yeah. Hyacinth, here we go. Hyacinth is for love, happiness, peace, sleep, nightmares, and abundance. As in protecting against nightmares, not causing them. But they do smell amazing, hyacinth. And some of the earliest flowering flowers for the year too, so very pretty. Louise, thyme dies in my garden after every summer, but I have loads of wild marjoram, which I use instead. Still buy thyme every summer. Yeah, I've had marjoram that's survived a couple of years and then gone. I've had thyme that's survived a couple of years and then gone. I think it depends on the weather greatly, doesn't it? Maria, I want to buy bluebell seeds. Bluebells, natural bluebells, are protected, aren't they? Be careful of, there is quite an invasive bluebell as well, isn't there? Christine, I got the seeds for basil that is named Mrs. Burns Lemon Basil. That's brilliant. Grew some last year and it's lovely in pasta. Highly recommended. Excellent. I do have to buy my basil because I just can't grow it. Hannah, love hyacinths, but my partner hates the smell. They are very strong. They are very strong. Jane, planted a wisteria years ago. It's migrated next door and took over their washing line. It does grow, but wisteria is another one, isn't it? That it twists and winds and grows. So for magical purpose, growth, binding, reaching for your goals. Louise, obsessed with hyacinth. Always buy blue, but this year's white too. As soon as Christmas decks go away, hyacinths come out. It is a lovely spot of colour this time of the year, isn't it? Diane, yes. Don't buy Spanish bluebells. Need to make sure they're native British ones. The Spanish ones can be quite invasive, aren't they? Can't they? Helen, got wisteria in the garden, but it never flowers. They do apparently take several years before they actually flower until they're very well established. Louise, bluebells best bought in the green from trusted supplier, not bulbs. Ensure hyacinthoids, non-scripts Just trying to make me say weird words. Spanish ones, invasive. Yes, do make sure they are the right ones. Absolutely. What else did I find? A bit of milk thistle. If you've got rabbits, they love milk thistle. We used to have house rabbits. We had 4 house rabbits long before we had children. We had 2 fully grown rabbits and 2 dwarf rabbits that lived in the house with us. They liked milk thistle. So thistle, and it's a weed. I found that growing in an empty pot that had something else in it. Thistles, they're spiky. Protection, they're very good for healing as well. Exorcism, hex breaking, and spirit. So work with them for hex breaking and exorcising negative energy. Put thistle down under your doorstep to stop thieves from entering the house, apparently. But very good. Protection, exorcism, hex breaking, healing. Ruled by Mars and Jupiter, element of fire, and the masculine. So it's another weed that you can use to work magic with. And, you know, while you're weeding your garden, don't throw them away. Just bring them all, dry them, and use them for magical purpose. So rue is the other thing that is still in my garden at the minute. That struggled in the summer because of the heat wave. But it is still growing now, and it looks quite happy. And it's just in a pot by the greenhouse. It just, you know, happily pootling away on its own. So rue is very good for lots of things. Protection, health, healing, purification, balance, clarity, anxiety, and hex breaking. Ruled by Mars, the Sun, and Leo, element of fire and masculine. I've only grown rue for the last couple of years. It has nice yellow flowers on in the summer too. And I actually thought I'd lost it this summer because it went very, very sad where it struggled with the heat. But it perked up and it has come back. So very useful rue, very useful. Hannah, I have an apple tree which I bless in a wassail on the 17th old calendar. Wassail, brilliant. I talked about that a couple of weeks ago, actually, wassailing. Put your toast in the tree and shoot and make lots of noise and bless your apples for the coming season. There we go, Louisa. Wisteria takes 5+ years before it flowers. Prune February and July. There you go. Christine, bluebells are bulbs. The one that is prolific is the Spanish one that can be scented or not. The English one is very delicate and only grows in dark woodlands. It was thought that the Spanish ones only like light areas. Woodland Trust have said it's fine to grow Spanish ones in your garden as they don't like dark woodlands. There you go. Woodland Trust is very, very useful. Very useful. Louise, you're talking about the wassailing. Would love to do that on my allotment, but scared to do it in public. Do it in the dark. Kelly, one of my favourite flowers are dandelion. Oh, so useful. So useful, the dandelion, ruled by the sun. Such a brilliant flower. And, of course, the bees love it. And it is one of the first flowers for the bees. So if you get dandelions growing in your garden, leave them for the bees. Obviously, if you've got lots, pick some for magical purpose. They are very good for wishes, but that's the seeds. I save the seeds of dandelion heads. I keep them in a jar and use them in spell working for wishes. They are very good for divination. Does he love me? Does he love me not? Love, abundance, and boosting your psychic powers. Ruled by Jupiter, sign of Taurus, air element and masculine, but such a sunny, bright, fabulous flower. Dandelion is brilliant. I use it a lot in magical spell working. My mother-in-law calls a weed a plant that's growing in the wrong place. It is, absolutely. Louise, this is wisteria. Back to 7 buds, July, 2 in February. There ended the gardening lesson. Excellent. It is, Christine. It is, of course, illegal to pick English bluebells in the woodlands now. It is because they are endangered. There you go. Hannah says, just whisper the words and keep it low-key like you're just watering the trees. Nobody will know. A stealth wassail. Perfect. Jane, is Rue safe? I thought it was a bit toxic. I don't know. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Hardy, evergreen shrub, woody stems. Mm-hmm. During the Middle Ages, it was considered to be the herb of witches. Apparently, witches didn't like the smell of rue. Neither did plague-bearing rats. So there you know. It was used to ward against witches. I don't have any notes on it, but it may well be. It's worth checking before you use it. What book am I referring to? These are mine. Magical Herbs and Plants and Magical Food. I'm referring to them, even though I wrote them, because I don't actually remember an awful lot of stuff. Oh, there we go. Thank you, Louise. The rue essential oil is a bit toxic. There you go. I use the plants and the leaves and the flowers all the time, so I thought I would have put a note if it was. Emma says daisies and dandelions are often overlooked. They are, and they are so full of magical properties and free. Lizzie, bottom of my very small garden is nothing but dandelion leaves. Come spring, it's bright yellow all over. Perfect. I bet the bees love it. Christine, dandelion flowers make good syrup, good for health, as are chickweed, good for lung problems, and also great for skin conditions. There you go. I don't do the whole tincture, lotion, potion thing with herbs. I do use them more for magical properties, but my lovely ladies, Heather and Sue and Ness, do make them all. So I'm always very grateful when they throw things at me, bottles of elderflower roll.
Well, they throw bottles at you.
Yeah, and jars of jam and things. Angela, dandelions, some sea weeds, other sea wishes. Very good for wishes. Lizzie, rue was once used to induce abortions. A lot of these herbs and plants and weeds will have huge medicinal properties. I am a trained herbalist, but it was a very long time ago, and I was always so worried about poisoning someone that I didn't really get into working with it, to be honest. But I do work with the magical properties. So all of the plants that I talk about are from a magical point of view. If you are going to use them for medicinal purposes, do your research.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Well, yeah, because of all of these plants and herbs, if you get it wrong, it can be very, very bad and even fatal. A lot of these herbs and plants, if used medicinally, will interfere with over-the-counter medicine or underlying health problems. Just be careful. They are very, very powerful on a medicinal level. Even your herbal teas that you like to drink, do check first. End of rant. Jodie, dandelion will not grow here in coastal North Queensland, Australia, much to my disgust, and not for lack of trying. Okay, interesting. Tony, rue can be irritating on the skin. Yes, so it is worth checking, particularly with essential oils. Anyway, I never put an essential oil straight on your skin. I always dilute it with something. Janet, have trumpet vines that seem to grow stronger each spring. I always leave some of the seed pods. Definitely. Jane, is rue the same as rutagravelio? Yes, I think it is. I'm not very good on the Latin words, but let's just double. That sounds familiar. Yes, it is. Rutagravolians. Gravolians. Yes, it is, Jane. That is the correct Latin word for it. Rue is another word for regret. It is, absolutely. Eva, the herbs branch classes in the school are amazing. I learned a ton and it really boosted my magical practice. I use the herbalism knowledge mixed with the magical now to create some pretty cool lotions and oils. Thank you, Eva. It is the other ladies on the Kitchen Witch team that run those classes because they're clever at that kind of stuff. Christine, once mixed a tree of herbs thought to be harmless. I was out for the count, unconscious for 3 days after drinking the liquid. Hard lesson learned. Thank you for sharing that, Christine. I think people think it's natural, so it'll be fine. Bear in mind that a lot of the medicines that we use today, aspirin and that type of thing, are all derived originally from plants. So yes, be very, very mindful of these things. I always suggest people seek out advice from a qualified herbalist. Angela's latest purchase is a little book called The Ultimate Dandelion Medicine Book. Perfect. But again, before taking any of these things, do check if you are on any medication, if you have any kind of underlying health conditions, anything before you ingest it. Make sure you've identified it properly, because there are some plants that are seemingly look like something else and they're toxic. And yeah, just be careful with it. It's not worth it. Not worth chancing it. However, from a magical herbs point of view, there's still quite a lot out in nature at the moment. I'll try and do one of these a month, and we'll see what else has surfaced in the garden and see what's come up. If there's any particular plant that you'd like me to focus on fully, let me know, and we'll do a whole chat about one particular plant. If there's something that you love to use, don't know how to use, want to know how to use more, we'll dive down the rabbit hole with it. But there is plenty out there at the moment to work magic with. There is also twigs and pebbles and shells, all sorts of nature things, fallen leaves. They can all be worked with. But there's lots out in the garden at the moment that you can work magic with. There you go. Yes, hemlock is a member of the carrot family. Yeah, there's lots of things like that. There are lots of things like that. But even what you might think as, oh, that's a bit innocent, that's fine. If you are on medication or if you have an underlying health problem, it can sometimes get a little bit, just be mindful. That's why I just work with the magical side of it. It's a lot safer. Emma, our elderbush is currently bare. Yes, so is mine. So we can see all of the sparrows, blue tits and finches waiting for their turn of the food. Yes, Heather gave me a elder whip, and it is a little bit naked at the moment. But Elder is the elder mother. She's a feisty one. Don't want to upset her. But Elder has lots of properties too, which can be worked with the twigs. So Elder is protection, healing, purification, intuition, exorcism, hex breaking, and rebirth. And of course, Elder is one of the fairy trees as well. So lots and lots of things still in the garden or out in the wild. Lots of things there if you haven't got a garden. Even the weeds in the cracks in the pavement, like your bit of grass that comes up in the pavement, you can work magic with it. So I don't generally work with them fresh. I will dry them first, but you can just pop some on your altar if you want to work with the magic of the energy of one particular thing. But connect with the plant. Connect with the plant to find out what magical properties it has and what magic it can help you with. Every plant has that spirit. So connect with the spirit of the plant to find out what it can help you with. You can buy books. I love you to buy books. But trust your intuition, because each plant will have its own unique and individual connection spirit to work with. Nettles, says Christine, great for soups and very good for you. 1 potato, 1 onion, a small handful of nettles. Wear gloves and stop is great for a soup. It's a green, isn't it? It's just like using cabbage, really. Christine, no. Christine's not going to give us the combination that made us poorly. That's very wise. Magnolia. Did I write about magnolia? I cannot remember. Magnolias are bizarre trees. Completely bare branches. Then they have the flowers. Then they have the leaves. Very just strange. Magnolia. Magnolia is earth magic. Very, very strong earth magic. Ruled by Venus and a feminine energy. It's also very good for use in fidelity spells. So very useful. Yes, Maria is going to get it from Witch's Cottage. There's a very, very lovely company called the Witch's Cottage, which sells native seeds for Britain. Lovely, lovely company. Really nice ideas of gifts, but a huge seed catalogue of native plants. Can highly recommend the Witch's Cottage. Karen, never realised how many different types of mushrooms there are until I started seeking out the walks. Another one to identify properly. Otherwise, it will make you very, very poorly. Or worse. Lizzie, you can pickle magnolia buds too. Never tried them. Louise, my recipe too for nettle soup. Also interchanging nettles for wild garlic or lovage. I love wild garlic when that's in season. That is lovely to use. I make a bread with wild garlic in it, which is delicious too, and really good in pasta dishes. So lots and lots of things in your garden or out in the wild still at the moment. Mother Nature provides, even though it's cold and wet and dreary and yucky outside, and Eric won't go outside for a wee. Just look and you'll find them. Yes, Diane. That's a Pratchett one, isn't it? All mushrooms are edible. Some of them only once. Kitchen Witch in Bulk online ritual, Sunday 29th, 7 p.m. on the Kitchen Witch Coven Facebook group and YouTube channel. I will put a link to the Witch's Cottage, Janet. I'll do that in a sec. I've got 3 courses running at the College of Psychic Studies over the next couple of months. Do have a look. Have a look at my website for the events. Christine has a pot of nettles. This is one of the spaniels likes to eat the leaves. Bless. We got a lot I've got a lot going on. Do have a look at my events page on my website. There will be a lot coming from Kitchen Witch in the next few months as well. We've got lots of plans, plots and schemes. So do keep an eye out for all the different events coming up. So I will and should pick the flowers last year. It's an acquired taste. Yeah, I think of things better than magnolia buds to eat, but you don't know till you try. Have a fantastic week, everyone. I will catch up with you next week and have fun picking your things out in the wild. Take care, everyone.